Right, so last week we talked about the different many different expressions, many different greetings in Spanish, right? Things that we say, and we had we did apologies, but this is how we express condolences, right? Or sorrow that maybe someone has passed, etc. Right? All right, so 1 second, we'll go through that. Right, let's go through them. So lo siento mucho, I'm very sorry. You can choose a few to write down other than lo siento mucho, right? You don't have to write it all. Lo lamento tu pérdida, right? I'm sorry for your loss. Mis condolencias, my condolences. My deepest sympathy, mi más sentido pésame. If you already wrote down all, great, right? Te acompaño en tu sentimiento. So I share your grief. And descansa en paz, rest in peace. If there are any others that you know and you want to share, you can put them in the chat. All right, well, this is just a reminder, nothing to write here, right? We use the preterite for past completed actions and then past actions that interrupt other ongoing actions in the past. So if a sentence has two past actions, so for example, I was walking to school when a spaceship landed. The interrupting action is the spaceship landing, right? So that goes in the preterite. So the while I was walking to school goes in the imperfect, right? So what is the imperfect tense used for? So the first thing we're going to note, we use the imperfect tense for describing things that happened in the past. So it happened in the past, and this is an important word here, description, right? We're not noting events that happened in the past. That would be for preterite. We are describing something that existed in the past. So we're describing a habit we used to have in the past. Yes, guys, you'd need to write this, right? So I used to walk to school. When I attended primary school, I used to walk to school. I used to buy an ice cream sundae every Sunday from the grocery store. It's not as cool as it sounds. Ice cream used to cost $5. Bread used to cost $5. So many things used to cost $5, right? So things that happened for a while in the past, habits in the past, right? When describing people, places, or things in the past as well. So you might describe someone, the kind of person that your grandparent was, or your aunt was, or your uncle was, or your friend was. You might describe a place that you used to visit, or how the place used to be before it changed, or things in the past, nouns in the past, right? That's the first thing for description in the past. And that description could be habits, people, places, things, right? And you all are welcome to shorten the note. You could just write habits, people, places, things. But you do need description in the past, right? All right. The next thing we use imperfect for, actually, I need to change this, sorry. Interrupted actions, not interrupting actions. The interrupting action is the preterite, right? Right, so an action that was in progress. And here the keyword is habits, people, places, or things, right? And over here it will be no definite beginning or end. Right, so let's go back to slideshow mode here. Right, so interrupted actions. When describing an action that was interrupted in the past, it was in progress and something else happened to interrupt it, right? Because from that, we could get a sense that the action wasn't a single completed action, but we're trying to say it was going on for a while. Okay, and the third broad category for when we use the imperfect past actions that went on for a while, right? So there's no definite beginning or ending to the action. We don't know when it started, we don't know when it ended. We're just trying to show it was going on for a bit. We use the imperfect for that. All right, so I'm going to give you time here. On the next slide, we will have some examples. So I'm going to show you the examples in English, and then together we will put them in Spanish. Oh, actually, my bad. I'm going to, yeah. Let's look at the examples in English first. We're just looking at the next slide. We're just looking that I'm going to show you. We're just looking, and then we'll go to how it's formed, and then we will write out the examples in English and Spanish. Right? So we're just looking at examples in English. So for a description of things in the past, when I was a child, I used to play in the park every day. So this used to is a clear indication we would have to use imperfect because it went on for a while. Right? And we don't actually translate the words used to, we translate play in the imperfect, and that conveys that you used to do it, right? All right, it was that, and also every day tells you like over and over. So not a single repeated action, but a habit that you had in the past, right? Then we always ate dinner together as a family. So always as well tells you that the action was repeated. It was a habit. It's a description of something you did in the past, right? My grandmother was kind and had long gray hair. This one is much more obviously a description, right? So kind, she was kind. She had long gray hair. That's the kind of person she was. It went on for a while. It didn't just change overnight. It didn't just happen for one instance and stop. So description in the past. The house was big and had a beautiful garden. So a description of a thing in the past, right? The size, and what there was in it, the beautiful garden, went on for a while, right? Right, okay. For examples of interrupting action, no, interrupted actions, right? I changed it on this slide, but not on the previous one. So yeah, interrupted actions. I was reading a book when the phone rang. So this is the interrupted action, right? They were walking to school when it started to rain. So they were walking to school. Past actions that went on for a while. We don't have a clear starting point. We don't have a clear ending point. The children were laughing and playing all afternoon. So we don't know when it started. We don't know when it ended. So we're going to put laughing. We're laughing and playing. in the imperfect tense, right? And it was snowing a lot during winter. So we don't know if that is a day, a week, a month. We're not sure, right? We don't have a clear start point. We don't have a clear end point. We just know it was happening for a while in the past. So we use imperfect, right? Now, another thing in English, we have a tendency to sometimes use the word would. So I would buy ice cream every Sunday, right? So this would is really a past habit. It means used to, right? So once the sentence, the verb has the sense of used to, then we probably need imperfect. Sometimes in English, we use would for conditional tense, like I would buy ice cream every day if it was good for me and I wanted lottery and could afford it, right? Those are the conditions. I would do it if these things happen. But sometimes we use it to mean things we used in the past, right? And then also, sometimes it looks like the simple past in English, but in Spanish it has to be imperfect, right? For instance, my grandmother was kind. That is it's the English word for simple past, right? We ate dinner. Ate is the same word for simple past, right? Um, but because there's the word always qualifying it, it happened every day, we would have to think and realize we have to use imperfect, right? Is there another example? None that I can see right now. But the eighth dinner is probably the clearest example of how the word could look like the simple past, but you have to think about what it means before you choose whether you're putting it in preterite or imperfect, right? So we have to think a little bit. Right, so I'm ready to clear away this side. We'll come back so you can get the examples and we'll write them in Spanish as well. All right, so let's look at how we form the imperfect. And I had plans to write something here, which I'm going to write now. Caminaba todos los días, right? I need an accent on that I. I'll put it just now. And this person is going to say, bebía café todos los días, right? All right, I need an I with an accent. Let me just borrow this one. What are they saying? I'll just write it in. That'll be faster for us. Right. Okay, so caminaba todos los días, bebía café todos los días. Right. So the imperfect, the continuous past, right? It's going on for a while in the past, right? So for AR verbs, we remove the stem. So actually I left out those words. Let me put this in. Move the stem, right? And not even stem, sorry, the ending, Lord. Remove the ending. Can't remove the stem, then we won't have a verb. So remove the ending, which is AR, ER, IR, right? And for AR verbs, we add ABA. Uh-oh, I have them mixed up. Okay, so for yo, let's use a different color, and yet let's use hablar. The most regular of AR verbs, cross off the ending. We would say yo hablaba, HABL, ABA, right? Tú hablabas, él, ella, usted hablaba, Nosotros hablábamos. Ellos, ellas, ustedes hablaban. Right? Any questions, let me know. And what does it mean? I used to speak. Right? It could mean I was speaking when somebody came and interrupted me. It could mean, not I, sorry, you. You were, right? Right. He, she, it, you formal, would speak, right? It could mean we spoke, we always spoke, like if you have the qualification of always to tell us it happened over and over, right? It could mean they were speaking. Now everybody understands what I'm doing here, right? These are all the different ways in English you might express what is happening in Spanish. So you might say used to do something, you need imperfect. You might say we were doing something, you need imperfect. We might say we would do something, you need imperfect. We did this thing all the time, we need imperfect. We were doing it, we need imperfect. Right? If anyone is confused, let me know. And when you are done, what's another nice regular AR verb that we could conjugate? Try conjugating mirar for me and send it in the chat. It need perfect, of course, right? But we must take off this AR before we add our endings, right? All right, so we could say yo miraba. I used to look at. Two mirabas, right? Él, ella, usted, he, she, or esto, usted, miraba, right? Used to look at. Nosotros mirábamos. Ellos, ellas, ustedes miraban, right? Anybody confused? Anybody have a question? Please say. So your job will be to memorize the endings, of course, right? All right, so can we clear this away and try the ER and IR verbs? Anybody writing anything from the screen? One minute. Okay, so if we take comer to eat, I can rub off this stuff in blue? Bye mirar. Yeah, let's take a different color. Right. So comer, to eat, right? All right. So comía, right? Because we take off the ER. And our stem is COM. Comías, comía, comíamos, comían, right? So yo comía. Remember, there's an accent on that I, right? Tú comías, él, ella, usted comía, nosotros comíamos, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes comían. You know, when they say when people lose a limb, they continue to feel it forever. That's how vosotros is to me. When I did Spanish in secondary school and afterwards in other places, we learned vosotros. So now every time I conjugate a verb, I keep wanting to put in vosotros. It will never be gone for me. I will remember you vosotros. Right, so I'm pausing so we can write this. Do we need, anybody needs to write any English? I used to eat. You used to eat. Right, I'm going to translate as used to this time, all of them, but remember that there are all these different ways that you would translate it. You could translate it in English depending on what you mean, right? He, she, it used to eat, or you formal used to eat, right? We used to eat, we would eat, we ate all the time. The you formal again, used to eat, right? If you have questions, let me know. And then we could try one more. We could try vivir. An IR verb, although it will be exactly the same. But just let's do an IR verb to live. All right, let's do vivir together. So we would cross out the IR. Yo vivía. Tú vivías. Él, ella, usted vivía. Nosotros vivíamos. Ellos, ellas, ustedes vivían. Right? I used to live, you used to live, he, she, it, you formal used to live, we used to live, they used to live, you formal used to live. Right? All right, let's clear this away. Right, so our imperfect verbs. I found this graphic and I thought this handwriting is way better than mine. So I'll just use it. Is it blurry? Do y'all find the writing to be a little blurry? Or can you read it okay? Blurry. Okay. I'll just have to grace you with my own handwriting. All right, so all right, so we have 3 irregular verbs in the imperfect. Only 3 irregular imperfects. Right, so the first one is ear. Well, let me do a table like the slide before had. right? And we have the yo form. We have the to form. We have the ale, state form, nosotros, and ellos, ellas, ustedes, right? All right, so let's use a fun color. All right, so ir, iba, ibas, iba, íbamos, iban. And what does ir mean again? Okay, and I have to remember to put my accent right here for the nosotros form, right? So ir means to go. Great. Ser, to be, era, eras, era, éramos, eran. Right? The last one there. To see. Right now, ordinarily, we would cut off the stem, ER, and we would add to the V, right? But what makes it irregular is the stem is really VE, because it's veía, veías, veía, veíamos, veían. Do you all want to write to the English transitions too, or we think we're okay? All right, I'm taking that to mean we're okay, so I'm giving us a few minutes here. When I was a child, I used to play in the park every day. Right? All right, so when I was a child, I will have to use ser for this. We will have to use ser for this, and we just went over the regular conjugation of ser. And to use to play, we'll play jugar. Right? All right. So when I was a child, how do we say when in Spanish? Right? Cuando, great. So cuando, right? And I was is going to be conveyed by the yo form that we just wrote down. So cuando era. How do we say a child? Well, how do we say child? We don't need to say a child. How do we say child? Cuando era. Niño or niña. Very good. Right? So you could put whichever one is correct for you. Cuando era niña, I used to play. So how would we conjugate jugar in the imperfect to show that I used to play? We take jugar, we cross off the ending, which is AR, and it's yo form. So what do we add? Aba. Very good. Jugaba. So cuando era niña o cuando era niño, jugaba In the park. In is literally in, en. The park is very close in Spanish and English, the word, right? El great parque. Now, how do I say every day? Oh, I say all the days. Todos los días. Right, so that is the first one that we will translate. First example. So we have the English, we have the Spanish. Now, guys, I'm not going to rush us through these examples, right? We're using it as an exercise to practice putting things from English into Spanish. So, yes, let me know when you're done writing, but if you're a fast writer, you might have to wait a little while, right? All right, so we're looking at the next one. We always ate dinner together as a family. All right, so how do we translate always? We don't really need to be too business with subject pronouns, right? Because probably when we conjugate the verb, it's going to convey who is doing the action, because that's how Spanish is. The verbs have different conjugations for most of the pronouns, right? The first one didn't. We could have put in you, but we didn't. That's okay. All right. We always. So how do we translate always? So always is siempre, great. All right. And what is the verb for to eat? Comer. Now, because we have siempre, we will realize that eat is not simple past tense. It is a past habitual action. We used to do it all the time. So we have to use comer, and it's in nosotros form. So what ending do we use? We take off the ER and we add íamos. Very good. La cena. Okay. What are we going to do about the rest of that? Together as a family. How do we say together? Juntos, right? Right? In familia. Okay? Now, I've translated it as comíamos la cena, but there's a more direct verb for to eat dinner, which is cenar. So we could say, maybe some of you said, instead of comíamos la cena, we could say, now this is an AR verb, so we cross off the AR and we say cenábamos. Cenábamos juntos en familia, right? It's more, we're more than one person, so we make this plural, we add an S. I think you also could say como familia, and that would convey it. It's just that como familia might have a sense of perhaps we're not related, but we act like a family, we eat like a family. All right, I'm leaving 3 up. If you finish writing quickly, you could try 3. Number 3, and I think we'll do number 4 right after, right? All right, my grandmother. How do we say my grandmother? Mi abuela, great. All right, so mi abuela. Okay, so she was kind, so we have to use ser, because when we talk about features that are permanent and unchanging, ser, right? Era. Simpática, okay, yeah. And we can also use amable. Maybe also genial. All right, I will put amable. Okay, so mi abuela era amable. Y, all right, how do we say she had? What verb do we use for to have in this context? Tener, right. So she had it. Tenía. El pelo, because with body parts, we include the article, right? Even though in English we would say she had hair, we wouldn't say she had the hair. In Spanish, we include the article, right? Largo, to agree with pelo, y gris. Okay, and we're looking at the next one time. The house was big and had a beautiful garden. Was big, a characteristic that doesn't change. So Sarah again, right? So la casa era grande, we're describing the house in the past, right? Y had again is tener. Tenía un jardín hermoso, to agree with jardín, right? Good. Okay, so let's make sure we note these correctly. Examples that show interrupted action. So you were just there minding your own business, doing something. That would be an imperfect. And then along comes a preterite tense to just ruin your day. I was reading a book when the phone rang. All right. What is the verb for reading? Leer, right? Oops, that's a double L. That is not it. One L. Right. So to read is leer, right? And when the phone rang, to ring is sonar, right? And that would be in preterite tense because it just rang once and it interrupted what was going on. Right. So I was reading a book. We take off the ER. Leía un libro. When, again, that is cuando. El teléfono. I don't know why I'm not writing this completely across. Okay, so now preterite tense, right? So no. I'm not sure why I didn't go in a straight line. So this is our imperfect. To be clear, right? So when you're looking back and you're revising, you will be clear about what is what, and this is the preterite, right? Anybody confused? If you're confused at any point, please say. All right. They were walking to school when it started to rain. So they were walking from caminar. That's one word we could use, right? So they were walking. We take off the AR from caminar. And for ellos, we add ABAN, right? So caminaban to school, a la escuela. Cuando, okay, and so to begin, no, we don't use the imperfect straight through. Think about the length of time it took for the two actions in the past to happen. Is it the same duration in these sentences? Like here you are walking. You're walking here. You're still walking here. Still walking, walking. And then here is the school, right? Over here. You were walking back here. So you're going on like this. And then while you were walking, it started to rain. Rain. Did it start to rain here? No. Did it start to rain here? No. Did it start to rain here? No. It can only rain at one point. It can only start to rain at one point, right? Note this, the vocab. And so that is in preterite. Because the imperfect is going on for a while. Think of it like a number line or a timeline in history. It's going on for a while. And then this other action comes and interrupts what is going on. It just happens at one moment and it's done. It can only start once. Now, if the sentence said they were walking to school and it was raining, then you would put the imperfect straight through. Right? Thank you for asking. All right. So, caminaban a la escuela cuando. We will use empezar for to start, and it only started in that one instance. So empezó a llover. Right? So we call it the interrupting action because it interrupts the thing that was going on. The thing might still be going on, but it had an interruption, right? Okay, last category, past actions that went on for a while. We don't know when it started, we don't know when it ended. The children were laughing and playing all afternoon. So to laugh, reír, and to play again, jugar. Right? So this time, the two actions are going on for a while. So they would both be put in the imperfect. All right, so the children, los niños, they were laughing. So they, we cross off the IR and we add ian, right? So los niños reían y jugaban, we cross off the AR, we add the ellos and then which is ABAN, right? Jugaban all afternoon, toda la tarde. Just like how all the days of the week, every day is todos los días, right? All afternoon, toda la tarde. If it were like every afternoon, it would be todas las tardes. If it's every morning, todas las mañanas. All morning, toda la mañana, right? So toda does a lot of work. All right. All right. And the second one under here, it was snowing a lot during the winter. So it was snowing. Nevar is the infinitive, right? So nevaba. Mucho. Durante, for during. El invierno. Right? So I'm giving you a minute or two to know these and then we'll just wrap up class, right? Right. Now, we've been translating every ongoing past action as imperfect tense. In a few places, we could have used a different kind of tense, which is a star in the imperfect tense plus the past participle, right? So, another time we'll look at that, right? We just want to, so it's possible when you're translating or when you're reading, you might see an alternative is what I'm saying, right? You might see star plus the past participle or star plus the past participle to convey something that was going on for a while in the past, right? But today, okay, so in today's class, what did we focus on? The imperfect, when we use it, how it is formed, and the three irregular imperfects in Spanish, right? Next week, we still have to do what are some words, some keywords that generally mean you have to use the imperfect. And then a lot more practice with, is it the preterite or is it the imperfect? Right? First, we might start with an exercise where I ask you to put verbs into the imperfect. So, please revise. That is the only homework I'm asking you to do this week, right? Revise and try to memorize everything we've done. Okay? If you didn't complete your notes, come back to the recording and do so, and just please don't log off yet. Let me just take up it. Two people. If people have left, okay, well. So just take one more second. Right. You're all free to go once you're done. Take care, everybody.